We made it to the October 28th chapel. And we are gonna have a great time at this chapel. I know you're probably already starting to think towards the weekend, maybe Saturday, Halloween. Well, I've got something today that'll go along with Halloween for you in the creature feature, a Dolomedes. And I found one lurking in these woods. Yeah, well, anyway, I'll tell you more about that later. Well, I'm glad we're getting to this chapel today too, because next week we're not gonna have one, and the week after that either. Whew, craziness. Well, so let's have some fun with this chapel. Are you ready to get started? Let's do it.
Produces endurance. And endurance produces character. And character produces hope. And hope does not put us to shame. Romans chapter 5, 3 through 5. Yeet!
So I told you that a Dolomedes was lurking in these woods, and I even got a picture of it. You want to see it? Here it is. It's a pretty scary looking spider, isn't it? It's actually called a Dolomedes spider, and there's lots of different kinds of Dolomedes spiders all over the world. The couple we have here, the one that we have here that lives here most of the time is called a fishing spider. That's why I'm down here by the creek, because it's very possible that there's fishing spiders along this creek. Not looking for you, they're looking for insects mostly, but they also can eat a fish. They can let their legs go right on the surface of the water, and when they sense that a fish is coming, they can get one. Pretty cool, huh? That's why they call it the fishing spider. Okay, in case you haven't figured it out yet, these spiders are pretty big. I'm going to show you a picture, and I hope it doesn't freak you out. Just remember, the hand you see in this picture is not mine. Whoa, that's a big spider. Now, as scary as it looks, it actually would, if it was to bite somebody, would not be a very super dangerous bite. It would maybe hurt as bad as a bee sting if it really got a hold of you. But it can be handled gently and safely if you are willing to do that kind of thing. I'm not. So why are we talking about such a huge, creepy looking spider in the creature feature? What can a spider teach us about character? Well, you're going to find out that for as freaky as this thing looks, all 8 eyes of it, it actually is a very, very good mama. Yes, that's right. The females are fantastic mothers, and they help us get an idea of a certain kind of character trait called responsibility. So to understand this, it's probably going to be good to explain what my definition of responsibility is. Coach Chris's definition of responsibility is knowing what your job is and doing what it takes to get it done. And the fishing spider mamas definitely know what their job is and get it done when it comes to their babies. Let me go a little further. We also need to understand something about responsibility that helps us get a better picture of it. And that is that responsibility may require you and me to believe that someone is relying on our efforts. Let me say that again. Responsibility may require you and I to actually believe that somebody is counting on what we're doing, relying on us. And in the case of the fishing spider, that's exactly what's going on for the babies. You see, the fishing spider is part of a group of spiders known as the nursery web spiders. Now, they don't make webs that we can walk into in the woods, which is great. They only make webs really at one time, when they have babies. But first, before they can even get to that part, when they have the little eggs that the spiders are going to hatch from, they actually roll them into a ball and carry that around with them while they're growing. They don't leave them behind somewhere. They actually carry them around everywhere they're going. If they're going to try to catch something to eat, it's right there. All their babies are right there with them. If they're hiding out on a rainy night like we've been having, the babies are right there with them wherever they're hiding out. They carry the babies for a week or a little bit more in this ball that you could see them carry around. And then when the babies actually hatch, they open up the ball they made, and then they take the babies with them to a place where they're going to make a web. This is the only time they make a web, and it's called a nursery. And it's a protective place where that ball goes in the middle, and nursery web goes around it, kind of like a tent, and the babies are safe inside. And the mama stands outside and stands guard for a whole nother week or two while the babies get big enough to be able to take care of themselves. That is taking some serious responsibility for their mama job, isn't it? Fishing spiders show how it is, the mothers at least, show how it is that they know what their job is to take care of their babies, and they do whatever it takes to get it done. And they also show you and me how it is that they understand that their babies rely on them. They do what it takes to take care of them. And they know that by the time that they're done, their babies have a better chance of making it in life than they did if they had not put forth the effort to do the tent and the ball and the carry them around thing and all that kind of thing and drive a minivan. No, that might not be what they do, but I know some other moms that do.
Creature feature. Fun fact is the fishing spider can run on water if it wants to.
Anyway, a fishing spider, even as crazy, hairy, creepy looking as it is, actually can be responsible and teach you and me from that. That's just how God's creation is so amazing. Even the creepy spiders can teach us something about what he thinks is important. Cool, huh? Well, the character, we're going to find out about a person who knew something about responsibility. This week week's character is Joseph. Joseph's the one that you may remember got that special multicolored coat from his dad. It was a beautiful coat. Boy, did it make his brothers jealous. And that ended up being a bad thing because they ended up basically selling him as a slave to people going to Egypt, and then he was taken away from his home for a very long time. Kind of a bad story there. But it ends good. Don't worry. We'll get to that in a second. You can find out the story for yourself starting in chapter 37. But it's a long one. It goes all the way to chapter 50, the end of Genesis. A lot of story about Joseph. So many things we could learn from his life. But we're going to look at how it was that Joseph was really a very responsible person. Now, I told you that he got sold as a slave and he had to go to Egypt. Well, when he got there, he got a job in a man's house named Potiphar. He was a slave, but pretty soon Potiphar could see that he was responsible and trustworthy and capable of getting things done. So he got put in charge of a lot of things going on, all the things at his house. And things didn't go so good, and there was a lie told about Joseph, and that eventually got him thrown in jail. Well, even in jail, he started taking responsibility for things, and people started to rely on him to get things done. So he really went along, things went well for him in jail even. Well, of course he doesn't want to be in jail, but so he was excited when one day the Pharaoh had a need for somebody who could tell what a dream meant. And somebody that worked for Pharaoh remembered that Joseph could do this because they were in jail together for a while and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, Pharaoh came and got Joseph out of jail so he could tell him what these strange dreams were that the Pharaoh had. You can find out about that part in chapter 41 of Genesis. Well, the dreams were about some skinny cows and some fat cows and some really nice-looking bushels of wheat and some really terrible withered-looking bushels of wheat. And, well, all that meant to Joseph, because he was getting help from God specifically, he was able to tell the Pharaoh that means there's going to be 7 good years where the land is going to make lots of good food, and then there's going to be 7 years where there's going to be a famine and it won't make any food at all. The Pharaoh was glad to know what was going on, but didn't really know what to do next. So Joseph recommended what you should do is you should get 1/5 of all the food that's made during all the good years and save it. And then when the 7 bad years come, you'll have all the food that you need. Well, the Pharaoh thought that was a fantastic idea. And even more than that, he thought Joseph was the man for the job. So he gave Joseph the job of collecting enough food for his entire country to eat during 7 bad years. Huge job! Joseph got not only get out of jail, but he became the second in command of all of Egypt. Like that. Well, Joseph got to put his character to work, especially the responsibility part. Because now the entire country was going to rely on him to get the job done. Talk about knowing what responsibility is all about. Can you imagine how to get enough food for everybody to eat in an entire country for 7 years? Where do you store all that stuff? In fact, it even says in chapter 41 that they just stopped keeping track of it all. There was so much of it. Crazy. Well, the story goes on from there, but one of the really important parts that happens, I think, happens later in chapter 45. And it turns out that not only was there enough food for Egypt during the bad years, but there was enough food for people coming from all over the place, including Joseph's family, who still lived in the Promised Land, well, in Canaan. They came down, and you can find out about that story too another time if you don't know about it yet, about his brothers coming and Joseph pretending he didn't know him and blah, blah, all this stuff. Well, Joseph finally tells his brothers who he is, and his brothers are really scared because they figure that Joseph is going to get even with us now for selling him as a slave all those years back. But he doesn't. Joseph realizes something really important here, and I'm going to read it to you from chapter 45. Joseph says, "Don't be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life." Joseph realized that his sufferings definitely did some great things. He could be an example of endurance and then character and then hope. But it also is an example of how it is that through his responsibility, he knew that he really had a bigger job here of working for God. He knew that God had put him in a place to help other people, that God had put him there to make other people rely on him to use all of the amazing gifts and talents that God had given him to take care of other people, to be responsible for other people, and not just a few, an entire country, and even better than that, eventually being responsible for saving his own family from dying from starvation. Wow. That was like how it's cool when God puts all your gifts and talents and all the things that you need and people that need things all in the right place all at the right time, and it's just so amazing. God's really good at that. Joseph definitely is able to be a great example, I hope you see, about responsibility. And I hope that you can see in his life that by practicing responsibility, even when things were tough, back when he was in jail and back when he was sold a slave into Egypt, he was still practicing responsibility, even when it wasn't a good situation or a comfortable situation to be responsible. He was still practicing. And so when the big job came from the big guy, Pharaoh himself, then he was ready and he proved that he could be relied on. I really hope that you and I can be relied on to take a responsibility that's given to us and work at it, to do whatever it takes to get the job done that's given to you and me. When we do that, it does a bunch of great things. It is good for you and I. It develops our character, makes us stronger in character. But it also serves those people around us who needed us to do the job that was given. It also reflects really well on God. When we do our job well and we are responsible, people get a good idea of what God is like. So the next time that you guys get a job, try to work at it really hard. Make sure that you do it well so that people will want to come back to you again and ask you to do more things later. We're going to have 2 weeks now where we don't have a chapel because of our school schedule. So the week before our Thanksgiving break, we'll come back though and we'll have another one together. Until then, I will see you around school, and I hope that you all have a fantastic and safe Halloween weekend. Bye.
Good.